Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel, Mr. Loons, and today I am doing the Premier League predictions. It's the table predictions of the 23 to 24 season. My table predictions, and I'm going to be starting off in 20th and working my way up to first place, the champions of English football. And in 20th place, I am going for Sheffield United. Sorry Sheffield United fans, but the last time they were in the Premier League, they finished last. But the season before they finished last, Sheffield United did finish in 9th and shocked everyone. Everyone thought they were going to go down and they finished in 9th. So we could see a repeat there, but I think this squad is weaker than that 9th place side. And overall, compare them with every side, they definitely look weak, especially after the departure of Ilman Nyadi. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but there'll be a picture there to see him for yourself. He's gone to Marseille in Ligue 1. He's a huge loss. 24 goal contributions for Sheffield United. Probably maybe their best player, quality player. They have done a bit of business, Sheffield United, but I wouldn't say it's any Premier League quality. Austin Trusty, Benny Traore, Anis Slimane, Yasser Larouki on loan, and overall none of them have any Premier League experience. And really the Denmark League and the Swedish League, where Benny Traore and Anis Slimane are from, I wouldn't say the same quality as the Premier League. And they've only spent 13.1 million euros. They could do really good because they're quite young players coming in, but I'm not certain on it. So I'm sorry Sheffield United, but you're not looking good enough. You're gonna be last place. 19th place, moving on swiftly, and I am putting AFC Bournemouth. Now, last predictions I did for the table, I put AFC Bournemouth in last place. And this time I'm putting them in 19th. I was actually going to put them in 18th and considering to put them in 17th. But AFC Bournemouth, let's talk about them. Let's start off. Their manager. They sacked Gary O'Neill, which seemed a bit stupid at the time of sacking a manager that managed to keep them up in 15th. But then they bring in Andoni Iraola into the side, the Spanish manager that did very good in Spain with a couple of La Liga teams. I've heard good things. I don't know exactly how well he did, but all I know is he did well. And it looks like the owners are bringing in this manager and sacking O'Neill to try and improve, not try and just about stay up. They're going to try and improve, go up the table, which is good to see. And it'll be interesting to see what this manager can do. And so far, they brought in Milos Kerkez from AZ for 17.87 million euros. I think he's actually a really good left back and could do a lot. He played a full season in the Eredivisie with AZ and had a very good season in left back. He's only 19, but I think he's a definitely good left back choice for Bournemouth. And obviously, Hamed Junior Traore is also coming in on a permanent. We didn't see him much last season. He didn't play much on loan at the club. But signing him, maybe he can fit into that team, especially with Kluivert there. That's not going to be too bad. Maybe they can figure something out. Overall, yeah, it's all good. This manager did amazing in La Liga. Overall, their players that they brought in are all right and might be able to change something, especially with already the likes of Philip Billing and Solanke. Lerma has left, which is a huge loss really, and Jordan Zamuru, but they replaced Jordan Zamuru with Kerkez. But Lerma was an established Premier League player from last season. He's going to be, I think, a big loss. But overall, if a really crucial Bournemouth player gets injured, I'm looking at that bench, it doesn't look convincing enough. A lot of people say this manager's going to get them up, and I could be completely wrong about this. Okay, I think between 20th and 16th, 15th, I think any team, what I'm about to say, between those positions could go down. But let's move on to 18th place. I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers to go down. I've seen a few predictions and a few people are putting them down on the relegation zone, and I just about agree with this one. Because Wolverhampton Wanderers, their best player in Ruben Neves has gone to Saudi Arabia for 55 million euros. Nathan Collins has gone over to Brentford. Connor Cody has gone as well. Raul Jimenez has gone. Diego Costa, Adama Traore has also left. He had a bit of flair last season. João Moutinho's gone. And then they're signing Mateus Tuna, the 24-year-old, on a permanent, which they're on loan. He didn't do fantastic for them last season, and they're signing him for 50 million euros. And they're also signing a player they had last season in Traore. Boubacar Traore. I don't know if that's how to pronounce it. Signing him for 11 million euros, who's already at the club. But I wouldn't say that's good enough business. They also go sign Tom King, a Northampton goalkeeper. Assume he's going to be back up. And Matt Doherty. They already have Sarr, which is a fantastic goalkeeper, can I say. Sarr's a superb goalkeeper. He's Premier League proven in my opinion, and is fantastic. And Fabio Silva did alright in pre-season so far, but with under Julian Lopetegui, maybe Wolves could get out of there, that manager. But overall, I just feel like their squad is weakening, and overall, the trend of the last 5 seasons, they've been going down and down and down. When they came up from the Championship, they finished in 7th back-to-back, and then went down to 13th for 45 points, and up to 10th for 51 points. Then last season, they were in last for a few games at the start of it, and they got pushed up to 13th eventually near the end of the season with 41 points. That was by far their worst season. And now without Ruben Neves, Nathan Collins, that's some huge losses, and not replacing them properly, it's going to be concerning for Wolves. But I think they could also stay up. But I think they will be down there in a relegation tussle. Now that means in 17th place, I could have Luton Town there, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Luton Town in 17th, I'm putting them out of the relegation zone. I haven't seen many people do this, but Luton Town, they finished in 3rd last year. They're probably the worst team coming up from the Championship because they finished in the lower position in the playoffs. And the bookies apparently have them to finish in last, and originally, a few hours ago, I had them to finish in last, but I wanted to go for something different, something unique, because last season, 3 teams that got promoted stayed up, and this season I'm going to make 2 stay up, Luton Town and Burnley. But Luton Town 17th, they're going to fight. They had that fight last season. Yes, they have a really cheap side. They've signed 7 players this season. They are doing stuff in the transfer market, bringing in Heath Chong. And you know what? Yes, he doesn't have much Premier League experience at all, but I think he could do really well. And Morris, getting 27 goal contributions, could do something to keep them up in the Premier League. Him and Chong working together could be really good. Nakamba has had Premier League experience and was already on loan at Luton Town, so already knows the team already, and him coming on a permanent is huge. Maybe that Premier League experience can really help. Thomas Kamansky, Ogbeni, then Issa Kabor. He played well in League On. He played okay there, coming on loan from Man City. Could also be a good right back. And overall, I think the main thing that's going to keep them up is their home stadium. Their home advantage, which is like all the lower teams. It's going to be home advantage, home advantage, home advantage. And yes, they probably have one of the cheapest sides. Yes, you probably look at their side and they're looking very weak. But I think it's going to be a shocker. There's something in the bones. And I want Luton Town to stay up because it'd be fantastic. A weak side, they can prove that you don't need an expensive side to stay up. And I really want that to happen. So I'm putting them in 17th. 16th place, I've got Nottingham Forest in the exact same position as last season. And I think they're going to stay up again because of Steve Cooper. I think he's one of the best managers in the Premier League. I think he's fantastic. The business that they've done, Ola Ani, is that how you say it? From Torino, former Chelsea right back, left back, full back, you could say. He was at the Youth Academy of Chelsea. He comes in. Maybe he can do something with Anthony Elanga coming into the side. That could be huge. Him and Brennan Johnson together in that attack could be threatening. And their home advantage last season was fantastic last season. In terms of departures for Nottingham Forest, there isn't any big ones. Jack Colback, Cafu, Jordan Smith, Sam Surridge, not massive losses really at all. But Dean Henderson and Keylor Navas, I think, have both ended their loan with Nottingham Forest, which means Hennessey's going to be in goal, which means the goalkeeper situation could be a bit of a problem, but I'm sure in the next month they'll be able to replace that. But with Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Brennan Johnson in that attack, with the home advantages, if they can keep that up, I think they could definitely go down though, 100%, but they could also stay up. But I think they will be in the relegation battle. I'm almost certain they'll be in a relegation battle. But Steve Cooper, with Brennan Johnson, Morgan Gibbs-White, now Anthony Elanga, I think could really thrive and really help Nottingham Forest to stay up. Moving on to 15th position, and this may shock some people. Fulham FC in 15th. Now, I don't necessarily think they're going to get relegated, but I think second season syndrome could definitely happen. It's happened with Leeds United finishing 9th and 17th and eventually going down. Same happened with Sheffield United finishing 9th, then 20th. So I think the same could happen here, but not as drastic as that. I think 15th, I feel like they could finish mid-table, but I think Alexander Mitrovic, now at this time of recording, he has not left the club, but he is highly rumoured to leave, and he wants to leave the club. And that's not going to be good, but I think Fulham really want to keep him. I don't know what's going on, but Fulham have signed Raul Jimenez, so maybe that's a sign that Raul Jimenez is going to be the replacement. Also, they have Vinicius, but I wouldn't really say Raul Jimenez is fantastic. Ever since his head injury, he hasn't been superb, but maybe they can work something out. Also, recently, they have signed Calvin Bassey from Ajax. 23 years of age, is a centre-back for 22.5 million euros. He's not a bad bit of business for defence. And really looking at the side at the moment, Willian, if he can have the same season he had last season, and Pereira, that could be fantastic. And Fulham, if they keep Pauhina, they'll definitely be staying up. Second season syndrome won't hit them as hard. And Marco Silva's manager, I think he's more than capable of doing a good job with Fulham. Moving on to the next team in 14th position, I am going for Everton. Now, yes, I have seen a couple of people put them in 18th position or in the relegation zone to get relegated, but Everton, the last couple of years, they've been hovering around that relegation zone. Sean Dyche is their manager, and like he did with Burnley, he managed to keep them up. But I'm saying it's going to be a bit more comfortable in that position, because they signed Ashley Young, which is a good bit of experience. Considering he's 38, he's doing very good for himself, and I think he's good enough, you know, to be in the dressing rooms with all that experience. And then Dan Juma, what they missed last year was a goal scorer, and Dan Juma, if he can repeat what he did with Villarreal not too long ago, like a season or two ago, then Everton are going to be fine for goals. You know, obviously, there are rumours that Demarai Gray could be leaving to go to Fulham. But at the moment, recording the video, Demarai Gray is still there. And overall, they've got Jordan Pickford in goal as well. And they have Tawaski as well. And Sean Dyche kept up Burnley. And I think overall, they are moving into their new stadium. I don't know if it's this season or next season. But either way, I think Sean Dyche and the side, with Dan Juma and Ashley Young, within a refreshed season, I think they won't do too bad. I think overall, I think they'll do good enough. And I think they might start climbing up the table slightly to 14th. I could be definitely wrong, and maybe we could see the return of Dele, because he has returned from loan. Maybe Sean Dyche can turn him into an absolute genius in the attack, and maybe Dele can return. Moving on to the next team, is in 13th position, and I'm going for Crystal Palace. I'm going Crystal Palace in 13th. Originally, when I was doing this around 2-3 weeks ago, I was looking, and I did my early predictions just by myself, getting prepared for this video from a few weeks ago. I put them in 11th because they still had Wilfried Zaha. But now, with Wilfried Zaha gone, it's kind of concerning. Obviously, one player's not going to change them from finishing in the relegation zone, but I think it could make an effect. Roy Hodgson's still the manager of Crystal Palace, and I think he's going to do a good enough job to keep them mid-table. I am almost certain they will not break into the top 10, because with Roy Hodgson, it seems to just always be mid-table when Roy Hodgson is in charge of Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace did bring in Jefferson Lerma, which is a good central defensive midfielder for Crystal Palace. He was proven at Bournemouth to be a good CDM for Bournemouth, so I think he can do the same for Crystal Palace. And Elise and Eze is going to be that attack. Those two are going to have to work together to make the attack good. But I have heard rumours that Elise could go into maybe Man City or Chelsea or something like that. But if they can keep hold of those two, if Anderson and Gehe stay at the club, then I think Crystal Palace are going to be fine. But Nathaniel Klein and Warden right back isn't really convincing for that right back position. And Mateta and Edouard, is that honestly going to be enough for Crystal Palace in the attack? Obviously, Elise and Eze can help out a lot, but only 40 goals last year. But I think Eze and Elise could be the lethal attack. I think they're going to be the best attackers there to help them through. But Edouard and Mateta, don't think it's enough, really, in that striker row. I think they probably need to sign a striker and a replacement for Zaha left wing. But there has been rumours that Mateus Franca could be coming in. To be honest, being honest here, I know nothing about him. He's 19 and Brazilian, that's all I know. He could be coming to the side. Maybe he might be able to make a difference. I don't know. But Crystal Palace, classic 13th. 12th place, I'm going for Vincent's Company's Burnley. Burnley, I have heard of a statistic that last season they had the 6th best ever championship season with 101 points, first, battering all the other championship sides. Is fantastic. And Vincent Company was the manager, showing that he's a good manager. And overall, usually when championship teams get promoted, there's usually one team that finishes 14th place or higher, and I'm putting Burnley to be that team. There's always one team in recent times where do decently well, and I think 12th place. I don't see them breaking into the top 10 though. But I think it would be an overall good season. It'll be mid-table. I don't think they'll be near the relegation zone. The business that they've brought in, Jordan Bayer on a permanent, I think he'll be good for the season. James Trafford coming in. It'll be interesting to see if he can get into the Burnley starting 11 over Muric, see if he can compete there. Obviously, he had a good 1.5 years at Bolton Wanderers, but that's League One. This is Premier League. Be interested to see what he can do there. Then Zeki Amaduni. I think, you know what? He might not be bad for the striker position. Weghurst to start the club of recording. Can Weghurst have a good season? I think maybe he can. Maybe he can. Maybe he can change it. But overall, Vincent Kompany, with that history of Manchester City that he's had, you know, playing there, he's going to have enough experience and enough knowledge to make Burnley play different football than Sean Dyche, because it's completely different football. Hopefully we can see a completely different Burnley. And they've also brought in Nathan Redmond, which ain't a bad bit of business. He's played in the Premier League at Southampton. 11th place, I'm going Brentford in 11th. Now, originally, a few weeks ago, I had Brentford in 14th position. 14th position, which is kind of crazy to put in them that low. But I'm putting them in 11th here because I feel like Crystal Palace isn't as good as I originally thought because of the loss of Wilfred Zaha. So I thought, you know what, Brentford, you're not too bad. You bring in Nathan Collins, already have Ben Mee and Pinnock at the back. You've got a decent goalkeeper in Raya, but he's going to be going. But they've already kind of covered up that position with Flecken. And obviously, Ivan Toney's going to be suspended till January the 16th, 2024. For pretty much half the year, which I think is why they're not going to get into the top 10. Obviously, Thomas Frank is a great manager, and Brentford overall has run really well to bring them up. But Shade has come on a permanent now. Maybe he could surprise a few people. Obviously, Fleck and Collins. They're doing a bit of business here and thither. Brentford haven't got a proper striker, but with Mbeumo having a good season, if somehow Kevin Shade can surprise people, if he can surprise people in that attack, maybe with Wisser as well, and Mbeumo, maybe they don't need Ivan Toney for that first half. But I think they are going to be in the lower half till Ivan Toney returns, and then I feel like they're going to slowly climb up to 11th. I think they're going to start the season a bit slow, but then they're going to climb their way slowly up the table. But let's stop waffling. We like to waffle, but let's stop. Let's move on to 10th place. And I'm putting West Ham United. Now, a lot of people probably put them down into a similar position from last season. 13th, 14th, 15th. And yes, they won the Conference League. Declan Rice is gone. Their best player. Not good at all. And the signings? Well, they haven't made any signings. They have literally made no signings whatsoever. But they still have an alright side. In terms of goalkeeper, Fabianski is still quality. And if he starts going downfall because of his age, then you've got Areola there as well. They won the UEFA Europa Conference League against Fiorentina, which is great. Can Antonio have a good season? Can he get back on track? Is David Moyes good enough? Yeah, that's a lot to talk about. David Moyes is very close to getting sacked last season. But I think it'll work out. I think that they will make some decent signings to replace Declan Rice. At recording this video, at the time of recording, they haven't, but I think they will. Considering that they probably will make replacements, I think they will finish in 10th. Because they also have Paqueta, which is a fantastic central attacking midfielder. You know, Jaron Bowen. Imagine if Antonio, in his prime, could do what he does with Paqueta and maybe a couple of more signings in the club with the money they got from Declan Rice. Maybe they can move on to do well in 10th. They can win Conference League, but then also Europa League. West Ham, I'm not convinced will be in 10th. I feel like I might regret this decision. I feel like they could definitely finish in 14th, 15th. But I'm going 10th and hoping that West Ham get back on track in top 10 football. Moving on to 9th place, and I'm putting Brighton and Hove Albion. Well, Brighton, you know what? Brighton Hove Albion have some great recruitment, and they had a good season last season. Roberto De Zerbi is a great manager. Didn't have a full season last season, but now having a full season here with the club. It's going to be his first full season. He's a good manager, a very good manager, and trust the Brighton recruitment. Yes, McAllister's gone. Yes, Caicedo could be going to Chelsea. But the recruitment from Brighton usually, they can get some hidden gems out of nowhere. Mitoma at the side. And if Caicedo stays, that's fantastic. And they already brought in James Milner, which you can rely on even at age 37. Mohamed Dahoud played alright for Borussia Dortmund. João Pedro, Watford fans, I've heard, are quite upset with that departure. Overall, when João Pedro was with Watford in the Premier League, he wasn't fantastic, wasn't amazing, but maybe Brighton, their recruitment, they managed to turn these players in fantastic. Maybe he can do well. Danny Welbeck created chances. Yes, only around 7 goal contributions. Still created chances. It's a fantastic side. Dunk you can trust at the back. Overall, Brighton, obviously one huge departure in McAllister, but I think the recruitment's going to do enough. Europa League's going to be a bit of a huge hit. And I also think they're going to fall down the table because of a couple of teams going back on track. But in 8th position, I'm going for Unai Emery's side, Aston Villa. And obviously, Unai Emery, a fantastic manager. He came into Aston Villa, changed the side, finished in 7th. I'm almost certain they're going to win the UEFA Europa Conference League. If West Ham United can do it, then Aston Villa definitely can. 100%, especially after the transfer window they've had. One of the best in the Premier League. Yuri Tielemans from Leicester City. Yes, Leicester got relegated, but Tielemans is a solid central midfielder. He's probably going to come straight into the starting 11. Paul Torres, fantastic. Spanish international, 33 million euros. The Moussa Diaby, he's been rumoured to multiple clubs to come to the Premier League, and his pace is going to be threatening for Aston Villa. And you think they already have Ollie Watkins. Imagine Diaby running down that wing and getting it into that box to Ollie Watkins, where he can shoot and score. That's going to be a threatening attack. And the defence has been improved as well. But those 3 signings are fantastic. Unai Emery knows exactly how to manage the team. They've got a fantastic side, but the reason I'm putting 8th is, like I said with Brighton, I think there's 2 teams that are pushing up the table from last season who didn't do fantastic. In 7th place, I have Chelsea. Obviously, the whole side going to Saudi Arabia is a huge one, and then playing crap last season in 12th. But they now have Mauricio Pochettino, a huge manager, which is much better than Frank Lampard, which they had at the end of last season. He can definitely do something. And now refreshed, a very good pre-season. Could we see Mudryk starting to perform for Chelsea? Linked up really well with Jackson in pre-season. Jackson getting himself a goal. But obviously departures, probably everyone knows the departures. Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Kovacic, Koulibaly, Pulisic, Mendy, Loftus-Cheek, Mbappé, Kante, Afiliqueta, Aubameyang, all those huge players going. But they still have some good players, Kepa, I think, does have a mistake in him. He has made some mistakes in the past, but I think you can rely on him in the Premier League, so I think he's still a quality keeper. And obviously, Nkunku, they missed that number 9 striker, and Nkunku could definitely be it. And Jackson and Mudryk with it, and with Pochettino, he can definitely transform a lot of the players. And Enzo Fernandez might be able to have a better season from last season, because overall, last season, everyone didn't play their best, what they could do, after what a terrible last season it was. But maybe with a refreshed season, new season, new manager, a few new players, refreshed squads, it's looking alright for Chelsea at the moment. And defensively, they were fantastic last year, and I still think they are. With Badishli, which I think played fantastic when he came in the side last season, and Thiago Silva's still there, I think they can still do a good job. And Reece James, if he's fit, can definitely do greatness at Chelsea. But let's move on to 6th place, and I am going for Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, I know, but again, like many people, there's a condition on Tottenham Hotspur finishing in 6th position. Is whether Harry Kane will stay or not. I think if he goes, I'm going to be putting them out of European football. I think he's such a crucial asset. He scored 30 goals. Probably the 2nd best Premier League striker at the moment, just under Erling Haaland. But if they can keep Harry Kane, Son, you know what? I think he's still world class. Had a bit of a down season, but I think working with James Maddison coming in, if Harry Kane can stay with Son, James Maddison, Harry Kane, Kulusevski coming on a permanent, and Solomon. I think, I remember where he scored that back-to-back goals with Fulham that looked exactly the same. I think he played fantastic for Fulham on loan, then went back to Harry Kane, and now has come on a permanent to Tottenham Hotspur. I think he's going to be, the shocker. I think he's going to do really well for Spurs. He's going to be the shocker of the Premier League, and he's going to really do well for Tottenham Hotspur. And overall, their attack looks threatening. The defence, maybe sign a centre-back Spurs, and I'll be a bit more convinced you can finish in 6th. But the attack is lethal. The defence can be a bit leaky here and thither. Overall, I think Spurs can finish in 6th if Harry Kane stays. Moving on to the next team. It's my favourite club, Newcastle United in 5th. I do think Newcastle are going to fall down a place. Now, I do kind of want to put Newcastle in 7th or 6th. I think they're still going to get European football this year because of Champions League. Champions League is going to be very, very hard, for Newcastle United. Newcastle United have signed Sandro Tonali, which is a fantastic player coming in. And with the likes of Lewis Miley coming up, having a great pre-season. Elliot Anderson in that central area having a good pre-season. Joe Linton having a much better season, playing in more of a central midfield. Eddie Howe been a sensational manager, changing the players. Harvey Barnes had a very good season for Leicester City, and I think they're going to have a better season because Eddie Howe can transform them. Miguel Almiron had a good pre-season. Pre-season's been very good for Newcastle United. Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak. I think if they can work something out there, it would be fantastic. And I think Newcastle are going to do very, very well. But with Champions League, I think they're going to fall off a position under Manchester United, who I've got in 4th position. Overall, Manchester United, obviously, De Gea is without a club, which is huge. Finally, can I say, Phil Jones has finally left the club. Took a while. He's finally gone. Alex Telles has gone. Obviously, Elanga to Nottingham Forest. I think a few Manchester United fans thought maybe Elanga could get in the starting 11 and play. Overall, Manchester United, Casemiro, maybe the best Premier League CDM, probably competing with Rodri at Man City and Declan Rice at Arsenal, but definitely one of the best CDMs in the world in the Premier League. They've replaced De Gea with Onana, which I think could be a good replacement. Mason Mount can probably play better here than he could at Chelsea, but with Bruno Fernandes now being the new captain because Harry Maguire, he's not going to play realistically, is he, in that centre-back position. But with the likes of Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes in that position, it's not too bad for Manchester United. Erik ten Hag is definitely a good manager. Overall, I think Manchester United are going to be fine. And the reason why I am going to be putting them down a position is purely to a team I think are going to get back on track. And 3rd place is not that team. It's not Liverpool. It is Arsenal. I'm not putting Arsenal in 2nd, which I think a lot of people are putting them in 2nd. A great signing in Declan Rice. Michael Arteta is definitely a good manager, and I think they're going to have a similar season to last season. I think they will be in a title race with Liverpool and Manchester City, but the way they bottled it last year isn't good enough. Yes, Declan Rice is a great signing. Saka's there, it's a great player. Odegaard, a fantastic player. The defence is doing alright, and Ben White, great goalkeeper in Aaron Ramsdale. Gabriel's very good. Xhaka going is kind of a huge loss for Arsenal, but I would say it's pretty much going to be a similar season. In 2nd, now, it's about Liverpool, Manchester City. And last season, I did actually put Liverpool to win it. But considering Manchester City won the treble last year, won the Premier League for the last 3 times, and have Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, that's fantastic. But Man City have lost Ilkay Gundogan, their captain, to Barcelona. Riyad Mahrez has gone, and they brought in Kovacic, and there has been rumours of Laporte leaving the club, Kyle Walker leaving the club, Cancelo leaving the club. Obviously, Cancelo, I think, did play in pre-season for them. But those 2 big sellings, Gundogan and Mahrez, are huge. But they've got a very solid side and a great manager in Pep Guardiola. Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish has had an improved season from last season, and I think will improve upon that, because I think he does want to get like 10 goals and 10 assists or more. That's his personal goal. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jack Grealish can fulfill that. But I want to go different. And yet again, I am backing up Liverpool to win the Premier League and Man City to finish in 2nd. Now, I might be an absolute mug for saying that, but I'm going slightly different. I am going slightly different. I think Man City have a great side. but I think eventually it's going to be cut down, and I want to go different. I want to go Liverpool with the likes of Salah up front, now Szoboszlai and McAllister, and I think they are probably going to make a CDM signing. Lavia, I don't think is going to be, I think he's a good signing for the future and might be able to impact the side. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think probably plays better in more that CDM, so maybe if they can sign a defender overall. But the attack looks fantastic. Salah, maybe Nunes. I think Nunes will play better this season. I think he'll get a 10 to 15 goal season. Gakpo can do something. Diaz can do something. With Szoboszlai and McAllister being a World Cup winner, I think both of them are very creative and can definitely give loads of balls and to Salah running in behind, and that could be a lethal attack. But overall, if you look at the form from last season as well for Liverpool, their form was sensational overall from last season. I don't think they lost the last 10 games, they didn't lose once. Overall, I could be an absolute mug, and I think it's going to be a tighter race like it used to be, and I want to go different, making Liverpool champions. Overall, I think a few of the Man City players are leaving, and I think that's going to be my reason to maybe Man City backing down just about. It might just be a goal difference, might just be a point, but I could definitely see Man City winning it again. But I want to go different, and I'm going Liverpool to win it. Back to back I've done this, and I hope a different champion it's going to be. Sorry Man City fans, but give someone else a chance. Now, sorry if this was a long video, hopefully you tuned in all the way. I'll see you next time. Toodle pip now.